morning. Oil. Today is a big day. We're headed 40 miles to the west to pick our last field of corn. As one could imagine, probably going to start a day like this out at the fuel tank. The tractor is actually pretty close to full, but it's the principle. We're moving far away, might as well have a topped off tank of fuel. Combine left about 30 minutes ago. I'll probably be able to catch him because he doesn't move quite as fast as me, though I will need to stop about halfway and re-talc my tracks to help extend their life. Long road trips are not good on tracks. You want to make sure they stay cool. Talc helps protect the lugs and other moving parts in there. I'm gonna go ahead and grease the cart since we're gonna have a lot of bushels moving through in the next couple days. Time to head that way, folks. Everyone say a quick prayer for me that we don't have to deal with any angry motorists and our tracks don't just melt off from the heat. When it's all said and done, it'll be about 2 hours on the road to get over there to Tower Hill. About halfway to the field, and I stopped at my buddy's house so I could check on the tracks, reapply some talc. Barely even warm, and they're still in one piece, so I guess everything's going well. This stop's about 15 miles out of 40. I may check them again later, I'm not sure. Temperature seems fine. I am going pretty fast down the road. And for those of you who are unaware, tracks actually are very sensitive to prolonged road travel. They are not the best at dispersing temperature, so if they overheat, they quite literally can come flying apart. Trying to avoid that since it is a brand new cart. I'm sure some of you farm in 3 or 4 different states all at once, so 40 miles doesn't seem like a lot, but this farm over at Tower Hill is more than double the distance of our previously furthest farm. Gonna let this semi get ahead of us because I'm a courteous tractor driver, and then we are going to head through Shelbyville and get to Tower Hill. Thank goodness we made it to the field. The tracks are warm, not terrible though. Seems like they handled it well. Actually made phenomenal time getting over here. Less than an hour and a half on the road, though this tractor does go a lot faster than anything else we have. It's an early start to farming this morning if you exclude the 2 hours of preparation and travel to get here. You can tell that a combine's been here before me. They just can't help themselves but spill corn off the truck. That's alright. Can't expect them to dump as fast or as perfectly as I do. Looks like we're one of the last farmers in the area to get their crop out. Not really that surprising since we're so far away from home, but we're opening up this big field of Beck 6374 corn, and I've got high hopes for it. It may be for the best that we only have one combine running today. I don't know if we'd be able to keep up with 2 beasts in this big field. Not sure what good a corner post is if it's laying over. This PVC is actually genius. It's like a marker and a post driver at the same time. I don't believe that was us. I have been known to smack a corner post or 2 in my day, but I usually stand them up when I'm done. Who do you think you are? Oh yeah! This Beck's corn has been some of our best stuff this season. Both the independent companies we've worked with, Beck's and Burris, have phenomenal products, especially their Bayer genetics. They're weighing heavy and yielding high. Although the the dirt on this farm at Tower Hill is a little bit lighter than some of what we farm at home, it's still very capable of producing ridiculous yields as long as it catches some timely rains. This area in specific got a couple rains in June that we did not back in Coles County, meaning that the yield potential out here should be very high. The in rows are off the field, the combine is in the long rows, so the bushels ought to be flying out of the field now. That is metaphorically speaking, hopefully not on the ground. And it does look like there's a ton of corn here, so we may need to change our combine settings. Just one there. Our losses seem to be worse directly in line with the rows, so I'm assuming it's header loss. Either we need to narrow the deck plate spacing or slow down the head, and we really only have one option there, and it's narrow the deck plate spacing. This corn is around 15%, so it would be classified as dry by most farmers. That is one of the downsides about drier corn, is that it's very easily shelled off of the ear, even with the simple force of the ear hitting the snouts or the deck plates. You can lose a few kernels here and there, ultimately adding up to major bushels across the entire field. It'd be nice to have that 12-row corn head so we don't have to run the corn head at Mach 10 speed to keep up with the machine. The simplest way to check to see if it's coming off of the head is to look where the head has been, but the combine has not. That answers that. Head shell. There's 6 or 7 kernels right there. That says he can't even really narrow his deck plates any further without restricting the corn stalks flowing through, meaning that we're probably just gonna have to keep running it as it is. You gonna put your auger out so we can dump, or what are we doing here, boss man? There we go. Dealing with some decent temperatures over here. It's a tad bit breezy and also overcast, but all things considered, it's a great day to be finishing up harvest, or a great couple days. There's going to be a lot of going back and forth on this big field. That's okay. We've got some pretty enjoyable weather, other than a strong breeze, to finish up harvest over west here. We're going to hit hard. Since we're only running one machine, Marty and Katie have kind of been switching on and off, just giving them both something to do. It must be a cold day in hell, because Marty's riding in the buddy seat in the S780. Katie brings her laptop to the field, she's got her phone, and she's got a long list of things other than farming to take care of and keep track of. Dad, on the other hand, is probably bored to death because this is all he has to do right here. Not that this isn't a lot, but still. I knew it wouldn't last long. He's back in the operator's seat. This Beck 6374 is some good stuff out here. Gonna be up in our top 5, I'd say, for field averages if it keeps up at the pace it's at now. Lenny and Allie brought lunch because it may be their last opportunity of harvest 2022. I gave Lenny a camera because he said he's gonna try and take up YouTube as a hobby. He's too old to play with toys. Hello everyone! Show us how you do it! He wants to inspect the hardware.
Say cheese. Cheese. What?
Are you taking Mom's picture?
Cheese.
Lenny, what are you going to call your YouTube channel? Lenny's Farming Adventures? You're not going to let me in? Let's talk about this little thing right here, the LibreCart scale system. When you open the box, you'll find two items, the system hardware and a very simple set of instructions. LibreCart is quite literally plug and play. Mounting location is purely up to the discretion of the farmer who installs it. It can be on the cart or in the tractor. All you need is access to your scale lead. It can run on 12-volt power or with a battery. Today we're going to be installing this system on a John Deere 8R370 and a new J&M 1222 grain cart. Just in case some of you missed the memo, black grain carts are in style. All jokes aside, the LibreCart scale system does play very nicely with any make and model of grain cart so long as it's pre-wired with scales. This one is going into the cab because it was set up with Digistar scales from the start. Unplug the Digistar, plug in the LibreCart. Preferably you would not leave the LibreCart system just dangling. You'd have a more permanent mounting location. Because we're installing it after the start of the season, this is more of a last minute fix. An extremely convenient spot, and what I recommend, is to just mount it on your grain cart because it's Bluetooth connected to a mobile device or tablet. Oh boy, we gotta roll. Sometimes duty calls. You gotta stop what you're working on. Once you have your LibreCart system plugged in, you're gonna head over to your LibreCart app on your mobile device. You'll wanna click on your settings page and then hit this plus arrow in the top left corner. This opens the connection screen so you can pair a new device. Not to steal any excitement from the process, but I have already taken care of all the initial steps, which are covered in a very detailed manner in the instruction manual that's included with your hardware. I went with a sensitivity of 0.4 and a rated capacity of 43,000, which was imported from our Digistar scales. Once you're happy with your calibrations, you can go ahead and select how you'd like your units to be shown, whether that be in pounds, kilograms, or bushels. This is actually one of the features that I really enjoy about the LibreCart system because it's not just giving me a gross total weight for what I have in the cart. I can see it in bushels. That takes a little bit of mental work off my shoulders every day, and I really enjoy just knowing exactly how many bushels I have without doing any division. As you can see, we have a full grain cart of corn, so let's go dump it and show you where the real magic happens. If you thought being able to see your scale in bushels was nice, wait till you see how it automatically tracks unloading without touching any buttons. I didn't touch anything. It did that on its own. Boom! Automatic weight tracking. Oh no, you guys are gonna get me demoted today. Whew, cab corn disaster avoided. The number one rule of having a LibreCart scale system is not letting the combine operators know just how easy it is with the addition of that system to be a grain cart operator. The Combine Drivers Union has always been out to get us grain cart people. The beauty of LibreCart and what makes it so foolproof for grain cart operators is that it is always tracking small changes in the quantity of grain read off your scales. Once that change reaches a certain threshold, it will activate the unloading sequence. The software remembers the small variants that triggered the unloading sequence and adds on everything that's removed after that to get you your total unload. I'm well aware what you're probably all thinking. Well, buddy, you're hiding something from us. There has to be an additional sensor on the cart to let the system know when it's unloading. Don't take my word for it. Look at the drive shaft. The only non-factory things on here are dirt, corn stalks, and a few bearings that are in desperate need of greasing. That being said, the LibreCart system does pair with a moisture sensor if you want to install one on your cart. That is a little bit more labor intensive and advanced than what we're going for. We don't really need to know the moisture of every load, but if that's something you're interested in, it is capable of it. I could see the additional installation of a moisture sensor being extremely useful if you're dispatching loads to your on-farm dryer, which we aren't. That brings me to the next strength of LibreCart, record keeping. The operator of the app has the option to make things as simple or as complex as they'd like. You can split things based on field, destination, even by the truckload if you want. I have our LibreCart account merged with our John Deere Operations Center, and you can see all of our different fields that were imported from it. It also has the capability to share data with a handful of other management softwares, maybe one that you use. I'll show you one more offload for good measure. Hands are free. I'm not touching anything. We are moving grain right now. Give it about a couple seconds, and bam! LibreCart sees that we're unloading. It's keeping track. All done. If you have a device with cellular connection, it will actively send the records to the LibreCart cloud for access on a desktop computer of your choice. For those of you who do not have cellular connectivity, it will update to the cloud the next time the iPad or mobile device is within reach of Wi-Fi. An additional feature that I really enjoy about this app is that if you change your mind about where something's going or make a simple clerical error on where you apply the bushels to, it's relatively painless to make the switch back to where it needs to go. For instance, just a second ago while I was filming this, I made a simple error by changing the field. The bushels went to this field. I actually wanted them to go to this field, so I hit that back, boom. The load's removed. As you can see, it's been properly applied to the correct field. As much as I'd like to pretend it's not true, even I, a perfect grain cart operator, make mistakes, especially in record keeping. Being able to fix those without too much difficulty through LibreCart has made my life much easier. This neat little party trick is what I like to call remote connectivity. As long as you're within a reasonable distance of the primary hardware, plus or minus 400 feet, you can use a secondary mobile device to remote access the screen and view what's on it. This feature would be extremely useful in expediting combine calibrations because you need to know what the monitor's saying. Like many of you, I was skeptical at the efficacy of LibreCart at first. However, it's done nothing but impress me from the start. As a seasoned grain cart operator that's loaded thousands of trucks in my day, I cannot speak highly enough about LibreCart. Since installing LibreCart in our grain cart tractor, I've loaded roughly 400 to 500 trucks, and it has kept just as good of records as I did previously, if not better. If you are in the market for a grain cart scale system and you're looking for something that is simple to install, easier to use, and even better at keeping records than you ever could be, LibreCart by Agromatics is what you're looking for. Combine's still chewing away at this Beck 6374, yielding well in southwestern Shelby County. We've been working on the north 120 acre field for about 6 hours, give or take a little bit now. This Beck 6374 is knocking it out of the park right now in the yield department. Planted pretty thick, 35,000 plants per acre. For this lower productivity ground, I believe it's about 115 to 120 PI. For ground of this productivity, that's actually a pretty heavy population to start with. Doesn't seem to have affected us too much because it's still put on fairly sized ears. This 6374 is running about 250 dry right now. Very respectable for this ground. Keep in mind that all of our Beck's corn is on a higher management acre. It's getting a little bit more nitrogen, a little more sulfur, and a few other additive products that I do think gives it an edge. The combine's showing the average moisture about 15 to 16%, so it is relatively dry. There's basically no chance that we'd be able to keep up if we had both combines here. If you all were not aware, today is day 29 of consecutive harvesting. Though there is a rain in the forecast tomorrow morning that is almost a surefire guarantee 1 inch plus, which may pull the plug on our last field. Ironic that at this point we'd get rained out. I'd really rather just keep picking till we're done. Someone's eating good tonight. Hey buddy, you could at least leave us some of that rabbit. We're the ones who chased him to you. Digging in already? Did you even take time to wash your hands? The only other thing in this field that's that much of a savage is this S780. It's already used 3/4 of a tank of fuel. I do think we gain a tad bit of fuel efficiency by having a wider head. The biggest issue, without a doubt, though, is that we burnt about 35 to 40 gallons taking the combine down the road over here. That S780 is not fuel efficient to begin with, and a long stretch of road travel is going to kill your average fuel efficiency per acre because you do technically have to count that. It is a part of your harvesting expense. Unfortunately, we are working on borrowed time because the elevator closes in 20 minutes. And there's really nothing we can do to work around that situation. As much as I wish it were true, no, we don't have bins 40 miles away from home. And it's not even our farm. I'll give this truck the end of the day special. Hopefully the DOT's gone home for dinner. I'm just teasing. It was a legal load. Besides, as law-abiding citizens of the great state of Illinois and the fantastic country of the United States of America, we would not knowingly ever break the law. Totally. That's 100%, I'm not lying. We would never do that. I actually drive 5 miles an hour below the speed limit just to be a good steward of the roads. Ah, my favorite part of the day, when I can't see anything. Since the elevator's closing here in a little bit, and there's rain moving in first thing in the morning, that basically means whatever we get done tonight is going to be all we're going to get done for the next couple days. You just gotta love high voltage transmission lines. Those ones actually aren't that bad to farm around. The ones on the south farm are a nightmare. Great news, everyone. Elevator extended their hours from 6 to 7, so we may get this north field finished tonight. Lights are on. I repeat, lights are on. Honestly, huge shout out to the elevator for staying open another hour with the rain moving in. I know we're not the only local farmer that's probably super appreciative of that action. They finished the road construction that the sign is talking about like 5 months ago. At some point in time, does that sign just become fair game? Because they're just leaving it here on our farm. You can't deny that road signs don't make great decorative pieces. It looks like we have victory here on the western front. The neighbors have turned the lights on their tillage tractors. I had a reputation to uphold. Time for me to light them up. Sometimes your pride gets in the way of you doing your job effectively, but I'm a man. Can you expect anything else? Almost done with this field. Only a couple of acres left. You know what? My air filter has not given me any issues lately. We might as well change that. Looks like we've got enough open rolling storage to finish this north field. Here comes Marty in the S780. That means it's all finished up. Time to find a nice, quaint location to shut these machines down. I can say within reason what our yield was on this north side that was planted with Beck 6374. With what I've weighed out over the Libra cart and plus what's still on it, got about 31,171 wet bushels. Elevator tickets are showing 15 to 15.5%. That puts our dry average yield at 255 to 260, which is ridiculous, not only for any farm, but definitely for this farm. Day 2 of the Tower Hill misadventures. It has already rained a little bit this morning, and there is more rain in the forecast and on the radar as we speak, but I think we're gonna go ahead and try and pick some corn. Hasn't even rained enough to get the dirt off of them, so it's not gonna slow us down too much. If we had soybeans over here, we'd be out of commission for the day. We don't, we have corn. And as long as it's not an excessive amount of moisture on the ears and the stalks themselves, we can just keep running. Plenty of oil. It's still dry on top of the combine here. Based on what we're seeing, it's not a question of if we're going to be rained out, it's a matter of when. I don't think we're going to get anything done if we don't try and start now. Dad's opening the South 80 right over there. That field also happens to be our last remaining cornfield of 2022. There is no way that this is an actual problem because I let the tractor sit for 5+ minutes and the battery light was off. My favorite ditches are the ones that are shallow enough to be used as a crossing at any point. There's definitely a little bit of moisture on the topsoil. Other than that though, ground conditions really haven't changed much from yesterday. Opening her up. Maybe we'll beat the rain. The one thing that a rain can cause is additional head shell because of the moisture on the ears. We were already getting some yesterday, so we're gonna check and see if there's just as much today or more. There's a lot of kernels on the ground, but it's probably the same as yesterday. That's actually a lot of bushels we're leaving. Never mind. I was just looking at a spot where he was picking crossways with the corn. You can always expect additional loss when you do that. It's just not an efficient way to pick, nor do you capture all of the grain because you knock a lot over. That being said, it looks like we're getting about the same amount of head shell as we were yesterday, so we're gonna hammer on. Nice overcast day to pick some corn. Name a better combination: overcast weather and corn harvest.
Looks like it's going to be raining shortly, Andy.
Think we may get rained out pretty quickly. Oh yes, there's definitely rain to the south. That's something we have not seen all season. Day 30 of harvesting in a row and we finally get rain on the windows. Last year it was like every day or half a day it was pouring down rain. This year we haven't had much rain to speak of. There was one morning after we finished up beans where there was a little bit of delay, but still. And just like that, the rain is discontinued. Mother Nature gifted us another 10 minutes of harvesting. I think our time's gonna come to an end though. There's more rain moving. Oh yes, that is a good rain right there. There is the current radar. We are that little blue dot in the top right quadrant of the screen. Really nothing on us right now, but it is raining outside. Starting to get a little bit messy. If Winnie were here, he'd be going crazy seeing all the windshield wipers going. For some reason, he's just a big fan of the wipers. More realistically, I think he's actually just a fan of the wiper switch. And seeing the switch turn something on is magical to him. Never mind, it stopped raining, so we are still picking. What do you need a fuel trailer for when the fuel company will just bring you their entire truck to fill the combine? Mother Nature needs to make up her mind.
It's pouring here in Pana. The sun's out here at the field.
Dad, it's pouring just like a half mile to the west. I can see it through the tree lines. You can't even really see the trees on the other side. Even if we squeeze through this little narrow window, there's more to come. So probably gonna have to take a day off. Short morning, but we got some stuff done. Some really heavy rains to the south, so yeah, probably the right choice to quit. Combine's a little messy now. There's the rain. I sure hope this camera's waterproof. Well, just in time. It has rained more in the last 10 minutes than it has in the last 2 months combined. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think today is going to be the last day of harvest for us. We were so close, but so far away. Mother Nature had different plans. I'm gonna take advantage of our first major rain delay to go spend some time with my family. I'll check back in when we have some action. Bad news, everyone. Supposedly it rained a little bit over an inch over at Tower Hill, meaning that unless the ground is drier than I think it is right now, we may have to wait another day to harvest. The really unfortunate part about the rain is now all of our spilled grain on the ground is really gonna start to stink. That's all right though. It is a beautiful fall day out this morning. The only way to tell if the ground is fit is to go check for yourself. It's a tad bit greasy on top. Really not that bad. Ground conditions are close enough. We're gonna check with the combine, see what it's gonna look like. Since we're so far away from home, we've been taking our John Deere auto steer receivers off for safekeeping. It's not that we don't trust the inhabitants of Pana and or Tower Hill. It's just that we've heard far too many stories of theft involving those very expensive and hard to replace receivers. We don't want that to happen, so we don't take any chances this far away from home. Corn got a little dirty yesterday in the rain. That's gonna smell real nice. Pop the top on the 780. Much to my surprise, we're gonna give it an hour, maybe an hour and a half, let the sunshine and the wind blow, firm things up a tad bit because it is a little bit sticky still. And we're gonna finish picking our last field of corn. That means today is gonna be day 31 of continuous harvesting. The auger's left out when there's rain in the forecast because it keeps any additional moisture from going down the flighting, causing unnecessary rusting. The request has been sent for the truck drivers to head over. I don't know if they'll be able to make this trek before I'm full though. I do have faith it is the last day of harvest and we have a lot of poles to pick around, which should slow us down a little bit. Should be a relatively easygoing day as long as we don't get our unloading auger wrapped up with one of these power lines. Day 31 of harvest, it should be our last and hopefully our easiest. Majority of what we have left is just gonna be these inrows. And there's one of our trucks just in time. I would say that we're finally going to get our money's worth out of the tracks on the grain cart with the ground conditions right now. Someone needs to tell Marty you're not supposed to run mud through the head. I wouldn't recommend doing this if the separator is on, but the head should not turn on as long as the rest of the machine's not on. Finally finished harvesting around the long stretch of poles here. It's just like a Band-Aid. You gotta rip it off. That is a loose metaphor, I guess. You can't just rip the poles out. You could, but that probably wouldn't be the best decision. From here on out, everything should be pretty smooth sailing, barring any kind of major accidents or equipment breakdowns. This south field over here at Tower Hill is planted with a different Bex hybrid. This is 6557, put in the ground at 36,000 plants per acre. One thing I definitely noticed about this farm compared to a lot of our others was how good of a final stand we got after planting. That quite possibly could just be solely the weather we received after planting and the conditions we put the seed in the ground. Sometimes you pick a day and you plant, it ends up being terrible. Other times you plant one day and it's the best crop you have all year. As I mentioned earlier in the video, they did catch some rains in June here that we did not get back in Coles County. I do think that that did help this corn early on. That being said, I'm not expecting this south 80 to yield quite as high as the north 120 did. There's a ridge about halfway across this farm and everything west of that is very low lying, has some drainage issues that need to be addressed. And you can tell on the yield map that these areas are struggling with top end yield. Hoping to settle 240 to 250 dry. Don't quite think it's gonna hit 260 like the north field did. Looks like in ceremonial fashion we are going to be placing our last tile hole flag. Yeah, that is indeed a tile hole. Regardless as to whether or not there's more tile holes, we're out of flags, so that is our last one. Starting to wear a trail through the in-row here where I've been loading trucks. Counting down the loads so we're done with harvest 2022. The elevator in Pana where we've been hauling all of this corn has kept up great the last couple of days. But this afternoon, they're underperforming a little bit. It doesn't help that we only have 2 out of our 3 trucks here because we didn't think we'd need the other ones. I'm waiting on that truck right there because I'm full. We're down to our last couple rounds of harvest 2022. I can barely contain my excitement. As long as the trucks keep up because they are getting behind a little bit now. I wasn't kidding when I said a couple hours of the sun shining and the wind blowing would make a world of difference for this ground. It's actually pretty firm now. Except for that spot. For some reason it's still wet. What's your average moisture been on the field so far?
16.6 on the monitor.
16.6, and it's been a little bit high based on what I'm seeing on the elevator tickets. So I bet this field is averaging maybe 16.25. This would be like an extremely inconvenient time for a combine to break down. Imagine we're this close to the end and we have some kind of major failure. It would almost be comical. That 2022 John Deere S780 with 260 engine hours on it harvested our entire crop without one single issue. This harvest has been a completely different tale than last season. Not as many breakdowns, not as much mud, and a lot quicker finish. As is tradition, it is not going to fit on the last truck sitting at the field, so we may be waiting. That's okay though, we got to be happy with our progress. Marty's giving the combine a good shake to loosen up any gray in the tank, and we're off. What a fantastic 31-day stretch of harvesting we were blessed to have here in Central Illinois. I am so appreciative of all of you guys for tuning in and watching all the excitement throughout this month. Bringing our crop out of the fields is extremely important from a financial standpoint, and it also represents a season's worth of hard work coming to a close. There goes Marty, beginning the 2-hour trek in the combine back home. The real predicament here is I've got 1,000 bushels to get off of this field. Trying not to load any more than 900 plus on a truck just for the sake of legality for weight. That leaves me with the question, do I put 900 on this truck and 100 on the next one, or just do like 500 and 500 and call it good? 500 and 500 seems like a more reasonable approach. Might as well get ready for the road. A very conservative pile of talc there. Hopefully it disperses accordingly. A little bit for both sides, doctor's orders. Oh, just in time. There's my last truck. The end of the season is bittersweet almost. It's awesome to be done and have more free time, but you're gonna go stir crazy pretty quick because you're going 100 miles an hour and the rest of the world's typically going about 5. There you have it, folks. Let's hit the road. Almost forgot the juicy details. Corn made about 246, 247 maybe dry. A little bit of shrink, like I said, 16 to 16.5% moisture. A lot of water damage, or at least water struggles on the west end of the field. You can see clear as day in the yield map here exactly what our issue was. Here in this southwestern quadrant, a lot of standing water, I would imagine, in the later part of the growing season, took off some top end yield. It's almost a poetic ending to a beautiful harvest season. Sun's gonna be setting at our back. We're headed about 40 miles to the east. Other than a few suicidal motorists, really nothing out of the usual on that trip home. I wasn't lying when I told you it was going to be a good sunset. Maybe one of the best of the season. There's no denying that we aren't blessed to be out here farming. I was not joking when I told you guys I'm like a rocket ship in this grain cart. He left 15 to 20 minutes ahead of me, and I stopped about halfway to talc my tracts so they didn't overheat. These high-speed tractors really make a difference when you're farming that far away from home. There's no denying that I don't have a lot of thoughts and opinions on this entire harvesting process this year, what we've seen from our equipment and of course from the hybrids and varieties that we planted, maybe what we could do better from an agronomic standpoint to improve our farm going forward. As excited as I am to talk about that, I'm still gonna wait. I think that is a conversation for another day. For now, we're just gonna enjoy the bliss and the peace of being done with harvest. That's gonna be it for this video. I greatly appreciate every single one of you for continuing to tune in and support the channel, especially throughout this harvesting process. Your support means the world to me. I hope to see you all in the next video, but until then, make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment down below if you have any questions. You know I love to talk about farming. Have a great day, everyone. Peace!